Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So this lesson is on the second poem in Natasha Trethewey's The Native Guard, which is the Southern Crescent. So let us begin with the poem. In 1959, my mother is boarding a train. So it is told that the year is 1959 and the mother of the writer of the poet is getting onto a train. She is barely 16. Her one large grip over here means large bag. Okay, so she is just 16 years old carrying a single large bag, bulging with homemade dresses. Whisper. So the bag is stuffed with dresses that were sewn at home. They were made at home, and their soft fabrics are evoking a gentle rustling sound. The whisper is the rustling sound of the soft fabrics of the clothes, of crinoline and lace. Her name stitched. So the dresses are made of delicate crinoline and lace, and with a name carefully sewn into each one of the clothes. Inside each one, every dress has her name embroidered on the inside. So this conveys a young girl's journey full of innocence and hope, with her handcrafted dresses symbolizing her personal touch and identity. Then she is leaving behind the dirt roads of Mississippi, the film of red dust around her ankles, the thin whistle of wind through the floorboards of the shotgun house, and the very idea of home. So she's saying goodbye to the dusty roads of Mississippi, the red dirt that clings to her ankles, the sound of the wind slipping through the cracks in the floors of her modest house. Shotgun is a small house, and the whistle of the wind through the floorboards is going to be the sound of the wind slipping through the cracks in the floors of that shotgun house. Okay, and even the concept of what she knows as home, the very idea of home. So that is the sound of the wind that is slipping through the cracks in the floors of her house, and it is also going through the concept of what she knows as the house. The very idea, it is also going through the very idea of the house as she knows it is. Ahead of her days of travel, one town after the next, and California, a word she can't stop repeating. So in front of her lies a long journey which is spanned over several days, and it is passing through one town after another, with California, a place she keeps saying over and over at the end of it. Over and over, she will practice meeting her father. Imagine, imagine how he must look, how different now from the one photo she has of him. Okay, so she repeatedly rehearses how she will meet her father, and she's picturing his appearance and wondering how much he has changed from the one photograph she owns of him. She will look at it once more, pulling into the station at Los Angeles, and then again and again on the platform, but no one like him inside. So as the train arrives at the Los Angeles station, she glances at the photo one last time and keeps looking at it repeatedly while standing on the platform, but there is no sign of anyone who resembles him. Okay, so this whole it captures the emotions and imagery of anticipation, hope, okay, and uncertainty in her journey. Let us move on to the second stanza of the poem. Okay, so the year the old Christian makes it last run, my mother insists we ride it together. So in the year when the old Crescent, which is the train, the name of the train, it takes its final journey, my mother insists that we take the trip together. And then what do? We leave Gulfport late morning, heading east. So we depart from Gulfport in the late morning and we are traveling eastward. Years before we rode together to meet another man, my father, waiting for us as our train derailed. So years ago, we took a train ride together to meet someone else. That was my father, yani ki the father of the poet now. Previously, it was the father of the mother of the poet. Now it is the father of the poet, yani ki the husband of the mother. Okay, but our journey was interrupted when the train derailed. Now, that sounds quite terrible. Okay, okay, so let us move on. I don't recall how she must have held me, how her face sank as she realized again the uncertainty of it all. That trip too gone wrong. So I don't remember how she must have comforted me or how her expression fell as she came to terms with yet another unpredictable and disappointing moment in life, as that journey also ended badly. Today, she is sure we can leave home, bound only for whatever awaits us. The sun now setting behind us, the rails humming like anticipation, the train pulling us toward the end of another day. Okay, so today she feels confident that we can leave home, heading forward without any destination which is fixed. As the sun sets behind us, the rails vibrating with a sense of expectation, and the train carrying us into the close of yet another day. I watch each small town pass before my window until the light goes and the reflection of my mother's face appears, clearer now as evening comes on, dark and certain. So I watch as one small town after another fades past my window until the daylight disappears. And then I see my mother's face reflected in the glass, her features becoming sharper and more defined as night falls, firm and resolute. Okay, this second stanza, it kind of retains the emotional depth and sense of movement through time and space, highlighting the themes of uncertainty, resilience and reflection as well. So let me give you a brief overview of the complete poem, what it is going to be about. So in this poem, The Southern Crescent, the trains, they serve as a metaphorical lens to examine themes of journey, anticipation, and the complexities of familiar relationships. The poem is divided into two parts. The first part depicts the youthful aspirations of the poet's mother in 1959, while the second stanza reflects on a shared journey between the mother and the daughter years later. So, by contrasting these two moments in time, the poet delves into the themes of hope, disillusionment, which happens to be disappointment, and the persistent passage of time, all framed within the context of the American South region. The opening stanza introduces us to the poet's mother as a young girl. She's barely 16. Her suitcase is bulging with the homemade dresses as she boards a train to California. The details here, what is the detail? The dresses with whisper of Caroline and lace, her name is stitched inside each one. They offer a vivid portrayal of a young woman at the brink of a transformative journey. She is leaving behind the dirt roads of Mississippi and with it the very idea of home. So the notion of escape and aspiration is intense, as is the weight of what she leaves behind. The film of red dust around her ankles, they symbolize the dry rural landscape of Mississippi, and the thin whistle of wind through the floorboards of the shotgun house, they capture the modest and the fragile structure of her house. These vivid images, they give a detailed picture of her background, showing both its physical traits and its restriction. In this context, restrictions refer to the hardships tied to her origins. These include the physical or social or emotional constraints she experienced in her environment. They can be poverty, they can be lack of opportunities, or the confined life which is symbolized by the red dust and the shotgun house. So these restrictions highlight the challenges she is leaving behind as she embarks on a journey toward a new life. However, this romanticized vision of her father and the reunion she imagines is ultimately met with disappointment. The poem's repetition of her looking again and again on the platform and no one like him in the sight. It not only echoes her reputation of California, but it also highlights the gap between her hopes and reality. There was a huge gap between what she was hoping and the reality. So her dream, nurtured for so long through a single photo, what happens to it? It fades into the crowded obscurity of a Los Angeles train platform. The second part of the poem, it takes us years forward to another train ride. This one shared with the poet herself. So here Trethewey delves into the complexity of maternal love and shared history. The maternal love, the mother's actions throughout the poem, insisting on taking this journey together, and her enduring hope despite past disappointments, they show her care, resilience, and determination to move forward, even when faced with uncertainty. Her optimism, even after the derailment of her previous journey, highlights her strength as a mother, striving for a better future for herself and her child. And what is the shared history? The train ride symbolizes more than just a physical journey. It represents their shared experiences of hope, disappointment, and perseverance. The reference to the earlier trip to meet the poet's father, which ended in derailment, is a metaphor for plans which have gone awkward, which have gone haywire. So this shared memory, it adds emotional depth to their current journey, highlighting the weight of the past on their present journey. So the prior journey to meet her father that ended in a derailment is a striking metaphor for broken plans and expectations. Yet, despite this, her mother remains hopeful, as reflected in the verse. Sure, we can leave home bound only for whatever awaits us. So, the poem ends as the train moves toward the end of another day, with the reflection of her mother's face appearing clearer now as evening comes on dark and certain. So, the notion of journey in the southern crescent is tense with uncertainty, yet it is also portrayed as an inevitable part of human experience. Trains in this narrative are not merely modes of transportation, but vehicles of transportation and vehicles of transformation as well, offering both physical and metaphorical movement from one state to another. This means that the trains in the poem symbolize more than just literal travel, they represent change, they represent growth and transition. What is the physical movement? The physical movement that the trains take the mother and daughter from one place to another, from Mississippi to California, and from Gulfport to an unspecified destination. That happens to be the physical movement. But what is metaphorical movement? The journeys symbolize deeper transitions. For the mother in 1959, the train represents hope and the possibility of a new life, but also the emotional journey of leaving behind her past and facing disappointment. For the poet and her mother in the second journey, the train becomes a symbol of their shared history, their emotional resilience, and the ongoing process of dealing with uncertainty and change. Through the lens of these strange journeys, the poet engages deeply with the themes of aspiration and the often complicated notion of home. This refers to how the poem explores the idea of home as something complex and not necessarily tied to a physical place. For the mother in 1959, home is both the place she is leaving and the dream of what she hopes to find, which happens to be a reunion with her father in California. Both are filled with challenges. Mississippi represents poverty and constraints, while California becomes a source of disillusionment. In the second journey, home is less about a destination and more about the connection between mother and daughter. It suggests that home might be rooted in relationships rather than a specific place. So, as a whole, the poem serves as a moving tribute to the resilience and hopefulness of her mother while acknowledging the disappointments that are part and parcel of the human journey. By crafting this portrait of mother and daughter across time and space, the Southern Christian delivers a multifaceted exploration of the dreams that propel us forward, the histories that shape us, and the profound bonds that sustain us through the unpredictable trajectory of life. Let us begin with the line by line analysis of the poem. In 1959, my mother is boarding a train. So the poem opens with a specific year. It is grounding us in a historical context. The image of the mother boarding a train signifies a journey that is both literal and metaphorical, hinting at departure, transition, and a break from her past. She is barely 16. Her one large grip, bulging with homemade dresses, whisper of crinoline and lace, her name stitched inside each one. These lines emphasize the mother's youth and vulnerability. Barely 16 implies innocence and inexperience, while one large grip or suitcase filled with homemade dresses reflects her humble background. Trethewey's use of whisper of crinoline and lace evokes delicacy and femininity, suggesting both innocence and hope. How both innocence and hope. Innocence. Now, the word whisper implies something